Hey guys, what's up? It's Brett Newton here. I'm actually calling you from set. So welcome to today's show. In today's show, Jonathan and I sit down with the wonderful Eric Tomosunas of Swirl Films. He's a producer, a distributor, and an absolute filmmaking beast. Now, if you ever wanted to get your short film or your feature film out into the market and distribute it, which is one of the hardest things in the world to do that filmmakers don't realize, this is the episode for you, and consider this a masterclass in film distribution right here on Tech and Talent. Da, 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 da. This is the mansion I'm filming in today. Hey, let's do it.
First of all, you may find this crazy, but this is actually my first podcast. And my very first question is why is your host dressed up and you look like me?
Because freedom of speech, motherfucker.
Tech and Talent.
All right. There we go. You know I like to party, John.
Right.
Hey, everybody. Thank you and welcome to another episode of Tech and Talent with the fabulous Jonathan McFadden and myself, Brett Newton. Today, we have Eric Tomosunas, producer, entrepreneur, businessman, distributor, everything under the sun. He is on the AI tunnel. He is in the vertical space. He's doing everything. You've been running Atlanta for how long now, Eric?
I don't know that running Atlanta is fair, but I've been shooting in Atlanta since 2013.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So we've been in business 25 years. The company is Swirl Films. Origin was North Carolina, which is where I'm born and raised.
Nice.
Film business was brought there by Dino De Laurentiis in the 80s in the movie Firestarter. And that was kind of the beginning of, we want to make movies at some point. Always did music. Around 2013, we knew the tax credits here in Georgia were going to be really advantageous to the way that we wanted to run our business. And we opened an office here. And basically, have been boots on the ground full time since 2013. Only shot a few frames in the last recent years out of Georgia, just for some of the obvious industry reasons. But for the most part, the last 13 years have been all shot here.
Yeah, that's incredible. You have a crazy portfolio. Obviously, you know, the old school horizontal stuff, and now you're in the vertical world and you're in the AI space. Yeah, I mean, what do you see coming? What do you see going? You know, what else besides producing? You're also distributing, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's really probably just as big for me today as producing, as distributing. Some of the interesting thing is the majority of what I distribute are projects that I finance with filmmakers around the country and putting them out. So I do distribute, like if you brought me a title, I would do it for you. I'm not really an open for distribution business. It's more catalog that I've acquired or invest in, and then I release.
Did you catch that, Brett? He said if you did it, he would do it for you.
I heard
and that's because it's for like friends and colleagues. Distribution is not easy as well. Everyone thinks, I make a film, I put it out, it makes money. That just doesn't. That's not how it works.
How does it work?
It's interesting, depending on your path. You know, the distribution that I do is mostly through AVOD and FAST. And so it works. You just get it put up on the platforms and then, you know, hope that folks see it. You should do your part as the filmmaker to announce to people where the film is so that your audience, you know, think of it as like a band touring, right? They go to a small town, they put up flyers or however they market now, and people come out and see them. The filmmaker is the band, and he or she has to tell their audience, hey, here's where my movie is if you want to see it. And then that adds to the algorithm. That's the other piece of this, right? It becomes an algorithm at a lot of these places. So the more films I put into like a Tubi, my algorithm suggests to folks that watch my movie, other movies like it, or vice versa, you know, and that ties into metadata, and metadata words matter. There's so much to it.
So two things. You said AVOD and FAST. So advertising video on demand. What is FAST? And then basically what you're saying is, because all of your portfolio on these systems is linked, when you put more into your portfolio on these distribution systems, it links more to your products?
Yeah, it does.
Interesting.
Especially, platforms, Tubi, Peacock, Pluto. Pluto is also fast. So it was a great question. Fast is free ad-supported TV. And typically, although they resemble and are largely the same, fast is a channel where things are strung out like normal linear television. So when you pop on LG or Samsung and you see all of those channels and you can watch any of them with a collection of content, that's a fast channel. If it has a guide, it's fast. If it is on demand where you just scroll through and pick, it's AVOD.
So one of my favorite channels, it's on Pluto. And when I discovered this, man, I became such a big Pluto fan and user. There's a Star Trek The Next Generation channel where it's all Star Trek Next Generation all day, every day, and it just plays the episodes not in any particular order. I love that. And
Yep.
now that's ad supported, completely free. That
Yep.
would be an example of fast.
Correct. And
Look
so
at look at me learning stuff about this industry over here.
Yeah. And so that's what a
Education.
lot
Wow.
of people with catalog are doing.
Yeah.
That channel probably exists on Roku, all the Vizio, Samsung, everywhere that there's fast, that Star Trek Next Generation probably exists because it's content that's just sitting on the shelf otherwise, right? If this was 20 years ago, it would have had its run and be on TV somewhere here or there. Now they're putting it everywhere.
If somebody was considering trying to get their film or their project or something out there, and I don't mean the big, super money ball players. I'm talking about regular folks who maybe have a pretty good film on their hands. What would you suggest they start with so they can end somewhere that's somewhat meaningful?
So many aggregators now. I mean, this kind of goes down a path of what I also think is a challenge in our business, and specifically for those filmmakers. But to answer that question specifically, they would need to find an aggregator, BitMax, Deep Sea Digital. There are places that they charge a fee and they put your content on that platform. Here is the part that is still a barrier in our business and a barrier of entry is unlike music, if Brett and I go make a movie, doesn't mean it's going to get on Tubi, right? It just doesn't because there's still a gatekeeper somewhere saying, hey, yeah, we can put that up. Nope, we're not going to put that up for whatever various reasons. I'll give you an example. I have a filmmaker that did the project Lake Lanier, which has been like this very intriguing indie film shot. He's on Instagram with it. It's generated a lot of attention. And then he had a follow-up film. So his film did really well on a platform, Amazon. And then he had a follow-up film and Amazon didn't take it. For whatever, they don't really give you, they don't have to give you a reason. Where music, Brett and I are in a band, we can go and aggregate our song on any platform. There's no barrier of entry. Spotify, everyone will put the song up, and it's on Brett and I to tell everybody, hey, our song's there. People go listen to our song. It monetizes. We get paid. That's the concept of AVOD and fast, but you do still have to have a relationship, and there still are gatekeepers at those various platforms to make a decision of whether or not it can go up or not.
Now, how do you know? Like, how do you know as an indie filmmaker and then self distribution, right? How do you know if it's worth it to get onto one of these platforms versus just self distribution on like Vimeo on demand, or where you have the outlet and you're collecting the funds directly?
Great question. That it really all depends on what the filmmaker has and what they feel like they have. I do all of that as well. And so I love Vimeo on demand platform. You can get a VOD, which is video on demand, and specifically TVOD, which is transactional video on demand, up very quickly on Vimeo and tell people, hey, my movie's here. It's $2, it's $4, it's $6, and that monetizes through Vimeo to you. But correct, there's no barrier of entry there. You do have some fees that you're responsible for Vimeo. There are some costs associated, but and let me backtrack. On the AVOD, anyone can put anything up on YouTube as well, right? For the most part, there are some restrictions, content restrictions for YouTube, but a filmmaker can put it up on YouTube. That's where Tubi became wildly successful, in my opinion, is YouTube. You could also see your cousin's graduation, your mom's 80th birthday, and then, or your friend's movie. Tubi just became like the place where, hey, this is just where movies are.
Is there any other way to monetize on YouTube besides monetizing your channel with ads?
There are, I believe there's, I mean, well, now there is YouTube SVOD and AVOD. They have their own system, just like Tubi does. And then
Yeah.
you can do some transactional there as well and subscription. You can pretty much do those. Yeah, I think you can do those at YouTube. Actually, I was going to look, but I'm pretty sure.
But that SVOD and AVOD, that's the same type of gatekeepers at Tubi, right? Like if you want to get on that side of that platform.
Well, YouTube will allow you to do it, with the exception of some, content restrictions that should probably be there. Vimeo, same thing. Anyone can use Vimeo. You do have to pay, like I said, but you can get your content up, and you let people know about it. They go and purchase it. You get paid.
That's interesting. So, but you've been in the distribution business for years. I mean, what are your biggest challenges, and like, is it worth it?
Worth it is it depends on the cost of the movie. I compare making films and distribution to being a contractor and building houses, right? And no one wants to build $1 million house in a $500,000 neighborhood. And that's a lot of times why I also don't distribute many filmmakers, because I can't control what they spend, but I do have enough data now. I can tell you probably what you're going to make. And it's oftentimes, they may not like it, they may not believe it, whatever the case. So you've got to be really intentional about your spend on a movie, knowing the audience and what type of consumption and how much consumption you think you can get.
Do you typically, go ahead, Brad.
No, please go ahead, Jonathan.
Do you typically start at the very beginning of the filmmaking process with some of your clients, or are you more like, bring me the finished thing and I'll help it get out somewhere?
No, so like I was saying, most of mine are filmmakers I work with, I finance. I start at the end and work backwards, and we go, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how much we're going to spend, and let's go make this movie because it has a better chance of making money. It's still a business, right? So the film business or the movie business, I really try to not forget that. We all have cases where it happens because we think something's going to be great, we spend more money, and it doesn't add up. But for the most part, 90% of my distribution are projects I'm involved with. The other 10% are folks that I know that have projects, or maybe some of those filmmakers that I'm financing, they have projects that they do themselves. And anyone that asks, I certainly try to help them where I can. But there are definitely films that come to me that the budgets are way beyond what it will make in that AVOD fast space.
Yeah.
The film When Love Kills, how involved in that one were you?
I was heavily involved. There was a filmmaker here. Her name was Cass Seegers. I think her last name has changed. She had an amazing script, and we fought with the network. That movie was greenlit and ungreenlit and greenlit and ungreenlit probably 3 times. And I think she sat patiently and waited 9 months while we had her script sort of optioned in some way to get the network to do it. So it took a while, but yeah, from the script all the way to what you see, I was involved.
I was looking at your reel of all the different films that Swirl has done over the years.
Yep.
And I noticed a theme. A lot of it's very dark, it's very cinematic, but not overproduced, right? And then there's a frame or a moment in When Love Kills where I guess it's Felicia Blakely character is holding a firearm and her hair is like in front of one of her eyes. It's very film noir. You know that
Yep.
moment I'm talking about?
Yep.
I'm looking at that going, okay, is that something that, Eric, did you kind of plan that out, that shot? Did you know when you saw it, this needs to be on a reel?
Well, for sure, that's what's on the reel. Tasha Smith, who is a incredibly accomplished actress and now director, that was her directorial debut. And so she, a lot of times in this business, you work out trades with folks, and there's a role that you want an actress or an actor to do, and they maybe aspire to direct. And that was one of those times where she had done a movie for me that she would never probably have done and wouldn't do again, given where her career is, and rightfully so. But I said, hey, I will really work hard to get you a directing gig, because she wanted to get into directing. And so it took longer than it should have, but that's again because I don't control all the elements at the various networks. But that was her debut directorial moment. So that shot is really between her and the DP, but it was an amazing shot, so I put it in the reel.
Now, when you say you work backwards to the beginning of production, right? So like, are you actively looking at like distribution trends and like what's hitting, and then being like, hey, we need a horror Christmas movie because that's what's coming out in November, December, and that's what's popular right now.
Right. We collect as much data from our back ends that we can, and from the historical revenue estimates that we've got. And then we forecast, just like a studio would, hey, this looks like it'll work. And based on what we can find on the internet for other titles that would be compared,
Yeah.
it would be like comps to it. We use our own catalog as the majority of that.
That's crazy. That's crazy. So like there's such a data information driven business in the entertainment industry.
For sure.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right. Now, you know, it's funny. Like, look, I think your films. I think there's a lot of heart and story in many of your films. You know, and it's like I look at another distribution company like Asylum. You know, like Sharknado and da
Yeah,
da
yeah,
da.
yeah.
I worked on a movie with them years ago when I was non-union as Gary the videographer, and literally half the film in the movie was from my character's camera that they used and they cut into the movie. But like they'll do things and ask me and let me know if this is something that you also do. But like when Titanic came out, they came out with Titanic too. When Battle Los Angeles came out, they came out with Battle of Los Angeles. You know what I mean? So like they were going off of marketing in
Yeah.
the air, right?
Those were called mockbusters.
Mm-hmm.
That was what those were
I've
called.
never heard that before,
Yeah,
but I
they were
love
called
it.
mockbusters. And so, and basically that was their business. I know those guys very well,
Yeah.
and still do some business with them today. They had a phenomenal business model. They were direct back this, dates, depending on the age demo of this podcast, it's going to might date a lot of folks. They had a Blockbuster VIN number. So they were when those movies came out to theaters, they were first to Blockbuster with those mockbuster movies. And, they rented well. They did really well with those.
Right.
They were like
Right.
the Timu version of all your favorite
For
films.
sure.
Right. That's
For sure.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting, I don't know about yours, but like, when I first met them, they were shooting solely on 35.
35. We shot on a digital. We shot on like digital, like HD cameras. Like
Yeah,
that was it.
and when I first met them, probably 20 years ago at this point
Yeah,
now, they were shooting those features on 35 millimeter.
that's crazy.
That's actually film. 35 millimeter is actually film that goes in a camera, has to be, processed. So there were Super 8, 16, Super 16, 35. Those were films. Most of the digital cameras can mirror that today, but yeah, that was actually film.
And I think what most people don't understand, like between shooting film and shooting digital, with shooting digital, now and even when we had those digital and mini DV cams, like you have, with film, you have a certain amount of recording that you are capable of doing. Otherwise, it's going to cost you a lot more money, and it costs you money to process that. With digital, you basically have infinite amount of information. Just keep buying bigger hard drives, you know?
Yeah, I just finished a film that shot in Oregon, and we shot 13 days, and we shot 117,500 feet of film.
Oh my goodness.
And Brett, you are absolutely correct. It's about $1 to process that. It's about $2 coming in and going out, ultimately,
Per
just
foot.
per foot.
Yeah.
How long, in terms of
29
time?
hours. 29 hours.
29 hours. So 1 foot of film
No.
is
That 117,500 feet is roughly 29 hours. 1 foot, that's a great, I did know it 3 weeks ago. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly. I had the conversion because I was watching it.
While you're finding that, Brett, do you find that when you're producing your shorts, and then also Eric with your films, I just don't want to distract you from your search. Do
No.
you find that because we basically have unlimited media and space when you're shooting digital, that you tend to experiment more, try things a bit more? The process becomes more collaborative and creative all the way around versus in film where you have a limited finite supply of that media. So actor, we might not get to do the take the way you want it to go
Sure.
because I only have so many feet left of
Well,
film.
I'll say this. The only time I've ever shot film was in college. And I shot 8 millimeter, wide, but or Super 8. I've never shot a full production on film. So like, I think my take on it is with film, you have to prepare every single shot. Hence why you really had hardcore storyboards back in the day. With digital, you can get coverage as you see fit. Oh, we missed this insert. Oh, we want to make this up. Oh, that was a good performance. Let's get it from this angle. You can do that now with digital. But what I find is you probably have a longer post-production process. I mean, after you process all your film and everything, because you're steeping through so much more footage now because there's so many options. Plus, people will roll, they'll roll for 5 minutes before the take even starts, which is I hate that. That's like DPs and directors who aren't editors who don't realize what a pain in the butt it is, to having to seep through footage in post production. I love a director who's also an editor because they've already put together the shots in their brain and they know what compositions will go together, and then they also know not to waste so much time up front and they roll and get right to action. So.
But do you find the process acting and collaborating, do you find that you have more flexibility or you feel like you have more flexibility when shooting in digital versus film?
I mean, of course you do. 100% you do. 100%. So, and I mean, Eric, feel free to add on top of that. But
Yeah, I mean, you are limited, right? I mean, you're digital, you're not watching the cost, right? And I agree with Brett. Leaving the camera rolling is a pain in the butt, but sometimes what you do get between moments is better than the moment you were actually intentionally trying to get. I don't encourage it, but it does happen just with digital. With film, you can't do that, right? Every second costs. So, 1,000 feet of film, 35, and there's also a lot of technical to it, but we'll just keep it 35. 1,000 feet of 35 is roughly 11 minutes. So it's roughly 90 seconds, or hold on, yeah, like 90 seconds, I believe, a foot or something like that.
and that's like regular 24 frames per second. If you're
Four
doing
per,
slow motion,
that's four. Oh my God, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
if you're doing slow motion, you double or quadruple that.
Yep. So 3 perf is 14 to 15 minutes, 2 perf, which are all technical things that,
Yeah.
but that, Ari has made cameras now that mirror that specifically. So there are digital settings, but some filmmakers just want to still shoot how they want to shoot.
Well, that was going to be my next question because I know right now AI is becoming a regular, if not welcomed, part of the filmmaking process of any artistic endeavor. And it's new, and a lot of people hate it. When digital first started to become a thing, did a lot of the hardcore film people, the purists, did they treat digital the same way a lot of people are treating AI now?
It's interesting. There was certainly a pushback, right? There, for sure. I mean, because my first full feature I shot on still tape because it was an HD cam tape. It was a Sony F900, but it was one of the
Okay,
first
I know what that
digital
is.
cameras, to come on the market. I don't know that it was as big of a pushback as AI is
As
because
yeah.
AI, can do so many things, with image and likeness that, film to digital is, VHS to DVD, album to cassette, those are just transitions of medium. AI is an entire creative transition that, I love, but it, gets scrutiny for sure. And I love some parts of it. I do think it's going to make things easier for us as producers in the future, especially, given, you know, if you're shooting a movie on a budget, it can be very helpful, right? Because when somebody's writing a script and they write a convenience store scene that's only what, 2/8 of a page, which means 1001, 1002, and we're cut, we're out of that scene. To us shooting the movie, we still have to go to the convenience store. We got to get people dressed. We got to light it. We got to do all of those things for that.
Permits, rental fee,
Everything.
dealing with all those people. Yeah,
So,
logistics.
so we're trying to mostly go back to those the writer and say, can we re-put this somewhere where we're going to be longer, right? We're trying to find other creative solutions to not go to that store, even though that store might be production value. AI is going to help with that. AI will allow you, especially if there's no dialogue and it's just a quick shot. So yeah.
I'm optimistic of this future, like seeing all this AI as a tool versus a competitor, right? Like obviously people are going to make fully AI generated content all the way through, from the acting environments, just everything, right? And they'll probably get to a point where you just input the script and it outputs a video, right? But I'm optimistic in, as an actor, as a director, I'm optimistic that I think the actor, producer, person is going to thrive because they're going to be able to do things where you don't have access to these extreme budgets to create this massive location, but you can shoot in an open warehouse and then build the environment around you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the trade last week with the Casey Affleck film, right? The trades, same thing.
Right. The Netflix buy, the purchase of, what is it?
Ben Affleck's company. Well, he did. Ben Affleck has an AI post company, and then Casey Affleck is a part of a feature that was shot all in a gray box in the UK, and all of the world around it will be AI'd in.
Right. They said it would have cost 130 million, but it cost 70 million. That's Casey Affleck's. That's his day rate, basically.
Yeah.
It's only 70 mil, so everybody has access to it.
Yeah. And I think that number was 300 million because they're supposed to shoot in Antarctica and all of that. But I agree with you. 70 is still a very steep number to shoot in a gray box.
I love the fact that AI is making this possible for a lot more people. As more people have access to, or I should say, the ability to create compelling storytelling, as it becomes available for more people, that means we're going to be, as a society, a bit more discerning when it comes to the content that we consume.
Correct. So, right, like for Brett and I that work in this daily producing and giving folks cameras and looking at what they give us back, as technology continues to drop in price, it helps bridge the gap for talented filmmakers that wouldn't have access to get their films made, right? And so we've all seen films where folks had budgets we couldn't believe they had, and we didn't think they looked very good. And we've seen the opposite, a filmmaker with no budget and just above maybe a cell phone, and it looks phenomenal. And that's where the drop of the cost of technology continues to bridge the gap for the talented people. So then there's not a reason to not go do it because you have access to the tools to make it happen.
Eric, what's your take on, with more people being able to make content, what's your take on distribution? How is it going to change? Especially with more content flooding the market. Why are people going to pay to watch stuff if there's so much content out there?
Well, I don't know that it's going to increase paying to watch. It's, certainly going to flood where you can get free content. And again, I'm a big fan of, there is room for us all if our audience, our fans, our folks that want to support us want to tell other folks, and it grows that way. I am a firm believer, if something's just not good, it's just not good, right? Yeah. I know Tubi's distribution sometimes defies that because there are whole threads and Facebook pages on films on the platform that they're like, I can't believe this one is working, and it's working, but it's working because there's a community that wants to support the filmmaker, the movie, for whatever reason. And as good or bad as the movie is, it gave somebody a chance, an opportunity to do something that they love or wanted to do, and actually make a living at it. And that's the part that I just completely support.
So you 100% believe in like that the audience, the niche, like if there's a niche audience looking for something and or they want to support the filmmaker, they'll be there.
I
So so
do.
you, so in essence, you have to build, I guess moving forward as a director or an actor or filmmaker, you kind of need to build your niche. You kind of need to build your audience.
You definitely need an audience, and look, when I say I work backwards on those movies, it might be, a specific actor or talent that I want to put in the film to help drive audience opportunity. There are all of those things that come into evaluation of what we're going to spend and how we're going to execute.
Yeah. Now, okay, a specific actor, right? So I'm a firm believer, and I think, this allegedly, like the studios aren't saying this. I think every single studio, every single production house is making in-house AI moves right now and creating their own AI avatar actors and IP that they own. So like the world of, I think we're coming into the world of making your AI avatar actor IP a celebrity. People will be building shows and movies and commercials and video games around their IP and AI avatars. What's your take on that? Are you seeing any of that? And then is that going to be treated the same way that a regular actor is treated?
I think that there's a Val Kilmer movie that's coming out right now, and we know that he's passed. Right. I
Right.
think that the talent that embraces AI are going to be the first. Who's going to end up doing the $1 billion name, image, and likeness deal with an AI company so that they can now think about it. Brett, you and I work in a business. You can only be at one place at one time. That's it. Right. So if you're Tom Hanks, if you're Kevin Costner, if you're whoever, you can only be at one place at one time, right? You are the age that you are. So Tom Cruise, what if somebody wants to make it, a new risky business,
Right.
right? He has to be the age he is now. Not anymore, right? If he did a name, image, and likeness deal with a company that can actually generate the proper versions and ages of Tom Cruise, he can be at 10 places at one time. And being able to monetize that's what's going to be interesting to see. Who's going to be the real first actor to really be in 3 places at once shooting a movie, one in real person and 2 other films that he or she licensed their name and likeness and said, here is, you can use my 25-year-old version of me for that movie.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Like I think the well-known actors, that are essentially a product, like the Tom Cruise, the Brad Pitt, the Angelina Jolie, the people who already have brand names, right? They're going to be the first to license and make a lot of money off of their avatars, right? But what about the avatar that is created from scratch, like Tilly Norwood? There's going to be an infinite amount of Tilly Norwoods, and then it's just a matter. I mean, I've talked to agents about this. The studio system is what makes actors famous. You know what I mean? Like there's a certain amount of PR and press and investment into an actor that builds that career. There's no reason that the systems can't start doing that for IP and original avatars.
As long as we don't start calling those avatars actors. They are products, sure.
Well, it's Kermit
But
the Frog. We've had that
exactly,
before,
exactly. But Kermit the Frog is not an actor. It's a character. It's IP. It's a product. If you want to call it a brand, sure. But that's not a person.
I don't know. I mean, have that argument with an
You
agentic
don't
AI.
know. You don't know.
Have that argument with an agentic AI, and when these LLMs get even better, maybe it'll change your mind. So
The moment I have a conversation with AI about whether or not Kermit the Frog is a real person is the moment I hang up the
well,
business forever
we're
because I've
we're
lost my damn
not
mind.
not Kermit the Frog, but an agentic actor that has been trained. I mean, just like an actor goes to Juilliard, it's just the input of information is just different. So, and I'm not arguing for or
Oh,
against it. What I'm saying is I'm just blue skying the idea of who knows where it's going.
But I do agree with Jonathan that, you know, as kids, you can't dream and actually be in a real relationship with any of those actors, right? You're not going to go to a red carpet and shake hands with an agentic AI, you know, or an avatar.
But
You're
but
you,
mo but
Agentic is the company.
no.
I'm asking.
Agentic
I don't know what
means
that is.
that it's self-processing, it's self-aware. So,
Oh,
yeah.
there's
it
another
it lear-
lesson for today.
it trains the models. They train. I mean, you can train AI. You know, there's an interesting thing. Speaking of which, Claude. You know, there's a self-preservation piece out on Claude where engineers. Claude is another platform like ChatGPT for those that don't know, and it's Googleable. They created a self-preservation test where they took 3 or 4 engineers that were also fake and had email threads that Claude was monitoring of them going back and forth. And James said to Gary, "Hey, da 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 da, I'm also sleeping with Barbara." And Claude, the assistant, because they made Claude the assistant to these guys, are monitoring it. And then they started having conversations. We need to shut Claude down. Da, 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 you know, we're gonna end the program. We're gonna end the program. And Claude blackmails the engineers. The
I
engineers are
did hear
fake,
about
but
that.
they actually blackmail the system actually blackmails the engineer.
I
So
did hear about that. If you
it
shut me down, I'm going to tell Jim about, you and
Karen or
Barbara. Whatever.
whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And
But yeah.
so
But the point is it has a mind of its own.
well, it has the mind that we give it, right?
Yes.
Because the whole world is, you know, you would like to think you can just run over there and unplug it and it's over, right? At the end of the day, you just unplug it and it doesn't exist.
EMPs, that's going to be the weapon of the future. Electromagnetic pulse disruptors. They're highly illegal, but in the future, when there's 1,000 drones flying at you, you need one of those, you know? So,
I think so
You're
too.
going to need, and by the way, I mean, if you, again, totally off topic, but that, you know, if you look at how they went into Venezuela and captured, uh, it's probably an EMP.
yeah, they took out all of their electrical information.
It doubled over the soldiers. I mean, you think 8 guys went in and took the president of a country and brought him to New York for booking.
Yeah.
So
It's not just the
the
future; it's the
technology
now.
that we get is what they
Right.
get is what they give us.
Right. So, okay, but going back to the whole actor IP avatar thing. So we left off where Jonathan said, I don't think that they're actors, but where do we stand with the studios making these avatars, these actors that don't exist, as celebrity, so to speak?
Listen, I think that if any business finds an opportunity to make it easier to do business and have less friction dealing with talent agreements, dealing with perks,
Yeah.
dealing with travel, they're going to
Yeah.
do it. They're going to do it, right? They're going to, at the end of the day, we've already seen with um, uh, as many of the consolidations that are happening in the market, these businesses are going to do what's best for them. And without much consideration for what we all want or care about. If it works, which means somebody's got to watch it, somebody's got
Yeah.
to support it, they're going to do it.
I
I
think
mean,
what's going to happen though is they're not going to be considered people or talent. They're products, they're brands. It's sort of like, okay, Bugs Bunny. Bugs
sure.
Bunny makes a lot of money. And I'm sure that it costs more to use a Bugs Bunny character than it does some character that no one's ever heard of. I'm fine with that. I'm just saying don't call that an actor. Bugs Bunny is
Well,
not an
well,
actor.
to be the devil's advocate of that, right? I don't
Let me,
think.
this I gotta hear.
I look, and this is just me putting it out there, right? Like, I don't think, I don't know if it will matter whether it's considered one thing or another. I think it'll just be what people think, because you have kids now that are being raised on cell phones, right? You have
Sure.
people. You talked about Eric before, like people won't see them as celebrity because they can't go see them on the red carpet and they can't go meet them in person. But most people who know celebrities never get to meet the celebrity ever in real life
Oh, I was
anyway.
only using that as the definition between real and not real. I agree with you.
Yeah.
If the
Yeah.
consumer watches it, it's going to happen.
And
And
and yeah.
and with
Well,
Bugs
But that
Bunny, that was a
actor,
human voice that they had to pay. They no longer have to do that anymore.
right, right. Well, and so to put this out there, like there's no reason why you can't make like fake TMZ videos of your AI avatar walking down Hollywood Boulevard and people attacking him. You can, or,
that's
you know,
true.
taking pictures. You can 100% do that. You can 100% make people think he's real or she or it is real. And then also, we're going to get to a point where Brett Newton, the actor, is going to be hired to act with Tilly Norwood. You know what I mean? Like, and that'll only give these avatars more credibility of is that real or is that fake? Because Brett Newton is a real human and we know him, you know, and like, yeah. So,
You know, let's talk about businesses and entertainment that we think are foolproof for AI. So, like, what would you think? What current entertainment company or business that you think AI is not going to impact their business as much as
live theater,
wrestling?
wrestling,
Wrestling.
because
which is
it's a
live
live
theater.
event.
It is live theater, correct?
Yeah.
It's not gonna, but it's also broadcast, right?
Yeah.
You're never gonna have an AI wrestler. Well, let me not say never, because there's anything is possible. But you know, that's a show up and watch, pay a ticket price, buy a T-shirt. You know, as long as that goes, that one has the chance of making it beyond and not having to really worry about AI getting in the way or compromising revenue.
I
Right.
think
Because you have
AI
people
just
showing up.
allows a person to create, let's call it a product, and put that product out there, which I'm cool with. I'm not on the opposite side of this. I'm not saying this AI invention avatar isn't a person. Don't call it a person because we just. I'm not saying that. I love the idea of being able to create something to prompt an avatar, and then I start selling that. I love the idea, but it's not going to be something that, say, SAG even can represent. It might be my business's offering, but it's not a person. It's
That's
not
why they're
me.
creating the AI because you don't. I mean, you look at the Tom Cruise Brad Pitt fight that was AI generated with Seed Dance.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it? Is it Sedan? How do you?
No, seed dance.
That's what
Seed
I thought
dance.
as well. Seed Dance. And SAG actually came out and made a statement about it, right? Because you can't do that. Uh, well, you can't because you use Brad Pitt and or Tom Cruise's name, image, and likeness without their permission. But had they given their permission, it's their permission to give. You
Right.
could do that,
And
right?
SAG doesn't cover avatars.
Yet they will. They'll find a way.
Sure, of course. I mean, like, look, I'm a SAG member, but like, SAG is so behind on all of this. The same way they were behind on the new media contract and how they let, you know, like all the streaming platforms destroy residuals for actors.
Ugh.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think they need a technologist inside of the SAG negotiating committee. You know what I mean? Like,
I think all of them do because the reason that is, Brad, is because the money they collect up front is how they keep the doors open, right? Residuals are what you get.
yeah,
Let's remember that. The labor unions, they're collecting on the front end. That back end, that goes to you.
mm. Right. They're collecting on the fringes and like the
They're not getting
P&E.
they're not getting paid on your residuals. They're
Right.
there to make sure that you get the residuals, which is why you join the union and you're under a union contract. But there's pension, health, and welfare that gets paid, but the majority of that money is up front.
What is that? 26%?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is
And
interesting.
so
Are verticals going to go, are you going to see more SAG verticals?
look, I mean, look, the vertical contract that's out now for a Disney or for like a SAG signatory company like Disney or HBO, it's a great contract because it's super it's a fraction of what they're used to paying for regular television. But for these vertical companies, like they're seeing that there's no reason to use SAG talent. They don't need SAG talent to make these work. So where's the leverage?
Well, the leverage will come when the grouping of actors that they have deals with that are now their stars decide that they want to organize and join some sort of union. And if they can't prevent that, then they have to be willing to go and find new actors and build them again.
But then that sure, but then that also but think how fast iteration happens on these, right?
Oh yeah.
We were talking before. I wanted to say something about like the AI. You said, it's only a viable business if people are going to watch it. The thing with AI, you can iterate so quickly. You can find out what is working and what's not working. So like iteration is happening at lightning speed now.
Yeah.
So that means building a celebrity actor or an audience for an actor. I think it's easier than ever if you have the resources, right?
Right. Agreed.
I'm sitting here thinking, a bunch of vertical stars get together and say, we're only going to do this if you guys sign with SAG or whatever. I'm wondering how long will that last before they just give in and go back to working the verticals as non-union because the big company is going to be like, all right, well then you're out.
Well,
We'll make another you tomorrow, whether it's
right. Well,
AI or a real person.
Eric said it before. Like if there's pushback on flying someone out or a rate or whatever, why wouldn't they just go path of least resistance if a producer has the option? Like I had a casting director that I was talking to that was saying, negotiating with these talent agents, like they can't give. He was being honest, like you can't give so much pushback, or else you're gonna push them into AI. So
That's a great point. You're going to push them into, I mean, and as you know, in the vertical world, there's a lot of AI happening in the vertical world right now that there are companies that are just fully moving to AI because, at 90-second intervals, it does do pretty well.
yeah.
And you know what? If people are afraid of it, intimidated by it, especially actors, oh, it's going to replace me. Maybe. But right now, if you're watching or listening to a podcast about this, then you're already more in the know than most. You're already ahead of the curve. Start learning it.
Yeah.
Start future proofing yourself by learning how to use these platforms and learn how to write really strong, clear prompts. Learn what's working and what's not, what's trending and what's not, so that in 5, 6 years, you're the person that Marvel comes to say, hey, help us prompt it. Maybe not Marvel, but you know what I'm saying. Help us prompt this.
No,
Well,
prompting is going to be a real thing. And, let's just say, though, for something that's going to be AI benefits, right? I had a buddy of mine that shot a pretty big commercial, and it was a scene of teens. And again, working with minors, Brett and I know it's really difficult. There's child labor laws, there's teachers on set. So when you have kids, you're really trying to move fast. You want to get everything because you're trying to do it right. So the DP that I'm referencing had a shot of the teens coming down the hallway. It was a medium shot of them walking down the hallway, rhythmic. I think they had cut it to some music. He forgot to get inserts of the feet. He just forgot to get inserts of the feet. That was going to be a cool shot. So between punching in because of the footage on a digital camera versus what we can do with film, this is another good example. Because he was at 6 or 8K, he could push in, and then he used AI to create that shot. And it was amazing, right? So and maybe saved his job. Who knows? Because he had it storyboarded. He wanted to get it. He was just moving fast. He had minors. He had a lot of background that day. They just forgot. It just happened. They just forgot. And so when they got into the edit bay, where's that shot? We didn't shoot it. He was able to take that footage, create it in AI, and put it into the commercial.
Do you know what platform he used?
I think I don't. I'd have to ask him. But I mean,
will you do that and let us know?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Jonathan, I mean, there's so many platforms now, and it's like what I said, like Higgsfield is an aggregator of all the APIs. So like Higgsfield has Seed Dancing, Kling, and Nana Banana, and like
If
Tap
I,
Now,
and if I had
same
to guess, it
thing.
was probably Kling. I mean, Brett and I have a text thread that I owe him an answer on a process that I did to how to create something. So um, there, and that's the thing. Everybody's going to have their own style of how they get there because there are so many tools, right? So I may use Nana Banana or Kling. I may use something different for still image before I move to moving video. And then from there, I'll put it in Seed Dance. There are so many workflows that are different than others.
Yeah. Yeah. And then understanding like the aggregator of these services versus the actual like AI, like Seed Dance is an AI, like Higgsfield is an aggregator of AIs, you know,
Higgsfield is a distributor.
or a distributor of
No,
AIs. There
no,
you go.
they're an aggregator, but I'm just saying it's no different, right? Somebody said, hey, instead of creating all these AIs, why don't we be the one place we can show the consumer, come here and you
Right.
can get them all.
So like they have created their user interface to inject all of those AIs together.
Let's start. Higgsfield is Comcast,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And
You,
yeah. Yeah. Well, and
you
and like they have their full AI series now. They're gonna be Netflix.
oh, have you watched it? Did you watch it?
I haven't watched all of them, but
It's
I've watched
it's
pieces
it's
of them.
it's their Game of Thrones. It's their Game of
Right.
Thrones.
Right.
So now they're basically Comcast or Xfinity because they
Yeah.
distribute all of the AI, and now they have original IP from all of the AI that they distribute that they're going to offer to consumer
Yep. Yeah. They're on the forefront of
for
this.
sure.
Yep.
Continues to evolve every
Yep.
day,
Eric,
every day.
I'm sure people are listening to you going, this guy really knows his stuff. How do I get
How
in
does he
contact
hide
with
the gray
him?
hair?
How
How
do
does
I
he hide the gray hair?
get a good pair of headphones, man?
But
It hides it pretty well.
look, it's still a tough time in our business. Like, let's be clear. I mean, all of this is great. It's still a tough time with these consolidations to try to make a living for all of us, right? We're all looking for a niche, a place to fit in where we could run, and I think that anyone that's not embracing these new opportunities are going to be the folks that don't, I don't want to be the guy that doesn't retire doing something that I love, right? That's the whole idea. I don't want to see Brett, I don't want to pass by Brett and, again, not taking anything away from any of the other businesses, but my end game was not to pass Brett in my landscaping truck and say, hey, man, I'm heading over to cut such and such. And Brett's in his plumbing truck going, yeah, I'm headed that way. We got in here, we both shot Super 8 as kids. We did, I know you said something about shooting 8 millimeter. I shot Super 8 as a kid. This was always an idea of that I never thought I would be blessed enough to actually make a living doing,
Yeah.
but you do have to be able to pivot, and you can't be stuck in a way and not go. Like my show that I came off in Oregon, I was the oldest guy on set, and literally me and my partners were the oldest guys on set. My crew average age was probably 31, 32. Talented as talent. I was going to cuss. I'm not going to cuss.
You're allowed.
Talented, deserving to be there. But I'm sitting there going, man, like how many, am I a babysitter? Are they going to hire, with these guys tell a studio, we really want Eric to come and produce this. He really worked the best with us. I don't know. I think so. They all, I treated them fair, but, I have a tough job. I'm there to monitor the budget. I'm there to say no when it goes beyond what the financier or the studio is willing to pay. And I got to find the compromise and find the solution. So, my hope is always that I'm offering a solution and not just saying no. Hey, let's look at it this way. But I am saying, and we shot on film, these guys are all talented. We shot on 35 millimeter, but that doesn't mean we won't use AI in post. So we've got to be aware of what's happening, and you got to be willing to adapt.
If you want more information on Eric and everything that he does, everything that he has made, I guess will make, you just go to his website. It's swirlfilms.com. SWIRL films.com.
Yep. Brett, anything else you can think of?
Well, I was gonna say, did you know I was in one of your movies?
Only because you told me.
Yeah, yeah. Give me back my daughter. I arrested Gabby at the opening of that film.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's a whole other probably podcast about growing.
Yeah,
And there was at one point in time I had 14 employees. Films going everywhere, and again, I have to pivot. The business changed.
yeah.
The business changed, right? There's a whole lot of us that have shot films at $4 million, and now we're shooting those same films at $180,000, right? And we got to
Right.
adapt. You got to be able to adapt.
Right, right. And same things happening in the commercial world. I have a producer friend who used to shoot $5 million national commercials. Now her budgets are $200,000.
Yeah,
So
that's a space I've never worked in, but I'm sure AI is going to hit
rampant.
that one. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, for sure, for
because
sure.
it's short form. It's perfect for that medium.
Yeah, yeah. Well, awesome.
I,
Anything you want to leave us with, Eric?
Listen, you only don't succeed if you quit, right? If this is what you want to do, you just got to find a way and you got to keep going. And it isn't easy, but it's depending on your passion and your dream, it's better than the alternative, right? Of what you could be doing. And so I've always been I'll part with this. We made a joke, I often make the joke. If you look at my IMDb page, it doesn't look like I've said no to much in life, right? But as a person that grew up playing sports, loving sports, I'd rather play on the D3 team than sit the bench on the D1 team. And so I've just always been the person that I'd rather get it made than wait tables saying I'm trying to get something made. I'd rather, and look, I have scripts that I wanted X dollars to do that I'm sitting on. There's going to come a time where I just do them at what I have with the resources that I have. So it's really for me just about keep pushing, keep going, and finding a way to make a living in the business. It gets harder, but you can find a way.
Nice. Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
So dig it. Well, Eric Tomosunas, thanks for taking the time with Swirl Films.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man.
And next time I'm going to need you to have the same backdrop as him. I'm going to need you guys in unison.
Okay. Okay.
good luck. Good luck on that, Eric.
Jonathan, really nice meeting you. Where are you
Hey,
based?
you too.
Where are you based?
So I'm in Central Florida.
I'm in Peachtree City. You know that.
I'm in the office in Atlanta. Living the good life, Central Florida. Weather's probably great.
The weather is fantastic. Everything here is great other than this industry. But let me not get started on that because then I'll never stop.
Jonathan is a very successful commercial / industrial actor. I actually thought he was an AI the first time we got on a computer together. But he hates commercial auditions.
Well, it's like actors that don't want to do it. If you've done enough, you don't think you know what I do. Hire me or don't hire me. I get it, Jonathan.
I like this guy. I like this guy.
Jonathan, I get it. You've done it so much, but Jonathan, and Brett knows.
Oh, am I going to like this guy less? What are you going to say?
No. Unfortunately, as we all are on our career paths, you still have to be willing to audition to get new things.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't necessarily, my skills across all of these films that I've made didn't necessarily translate into the vertical world. Somebody's going to have to take a chance. And if I'm not willing to go with whatever the budget is, whatever the story is, I may block that opportunity because I'm like, I've made enough of these. You should know that I can shoot vertical. That's just not the case.
Sure,
but I understand your feeling.
You know what those auditions look like, though, where it's not even an audition. It's pretend to set a box down, or we need to see you walking by the pool.
Right.
Well, okay.
At all of our careers, we have reels, right? At this point, we have reels that you should be able to see what we can do.
Ta-da! Yeah, that's it.
Unfortunately, some folks, most of these executives, Jonathan, that, Brett's younger than me, you're likely younger than me. These executives are now 30 to 36, right?
24.
There you go. And so they don't know what the fuck we've done. They don't care.
No.
They want to see what they want to see for their thing. And so that's the other, again, and I know we got to wrap this up. See, the other challenges as consolidation happens, what we're seeing, and we all have had friends in the industry, we're seeing high-level executives that were probably getting high-level pay getting let go because companies need to lower their costs, and mid-level executives that just want the title but still will accept mid-level pay, getting into those seats of position and being able to green light and say yes or no. And look,
well, I understand. No, go.
No, I was gonna say, and look, I get it. Everybody has who they want to work with, right? You have to become that, or you're just gonna be out. If you're not somebody that someone in a position thinks of and says, you know what, I want to make that, and I want to call Eric. I want him to produce that for me.
Right.
If I don't make that happen for myself, it's just not gonna happen.
Or yeah, right. Or like you have to like, or make, if you don't want to work for somebody else, you have to make and cultivate your own audience.
For sure.
I think what's happening a lot, especially in this, if you want to call it commercial space, the intern of yesterday is the executive today, but they might be a marketing intern that then makes their way into production or advertising because there's an opening, not because they're necessarily an expert, right? So they're trying to cut costs, they're trying to save money somewhere, somehow. And that's when I get frustrated. It's like, well, wait a minute, you're trying to save money, so you're going to audition 100 people walking? Why not save money by looking at reels, or let the casting director handle who we're going to hire just for the walking, and let's spend our time, energy, and money on the person that's going to be speaking or the face of the product. So I'm not saying don't audition. I'm saying utilize the audition process to your advantage, especially if we're trying to watch the budget. But that's a whole new thing.
Well,
and I want to make sure people understand that the audition process, it will change just like the final product and production. The audition process will change, but it doesn't mean that it won't get easier for you, the talent. And one of the ways you can make your audition game easier and stronger is by going to, what's that site, Brett?
No, rehearsenow.ai. You want to get your auditions in the same day? You wanna know your dialogue, use a teleprompter, and have a 24/7 reader? You're gonna use rehearsenow.ai. That's what you're gonna do. So.
And I'll also mention that if you're going to use AI or not, you're still going to be on camera. You're still going to submit your self-tapes. And if you want to train like a pro and you want to learn to think like a boss and start running your acting job as a business, not as a charity, then maybe check out prodigytalenttraining.com. Learn how to take your power back by being a good self-advocate. It's not just about what you do, it's about who you know and what you can sell it for. Man. This has been Tech and Talent. Brett, you want to take us out?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining another episode of Tech and Talent. Come back for more, because there's always more to learn. So, Eric, thank you for being here. Jonathan,
you're welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
We'll see you later.
Hey!
There it is.